My beloved child, let me share something that happened not so long ago, in a place where love and pain walked hand in hand. There lived an old man whose weathered hands had built everything he owned from nothing. Samuel was his name, and his back bent slightly from decades of carrying burdens no one else could see. He had two sons who were as different as storm and sunshine. David, the eldest, had his father's steady heart. Every morning before dawn, you could find him mending fences, checking on the workers, making sure every detail of their family business ran smoothly. His clothes always carried the scent of honest work. His eyes held the same quiet determination that had made his father successful. But David was invisible in his father's gaze. Then there was Marcus, the younger son, whose laughter could fill rooms and whose charm could melt the hardest hearts. When Marcus walked into a room, Samuel's entire face transformed. The lines around his eyes softened, his voice grew gentle. His hands reached out instinctively to touch his boy's shoulder. Marcus could do no wrong, even when he did everything wrong. For 27 years, David watched this dance of favoritism. He swallowed his hurt like bitter medicine, convinced himself that love wasn't something you earned through good behavior anyway. But late at night, when the house grew quiet, David would lie awake wondering what invisible flaw made him unworthy of his father's warm gaze. Marcus, meanwhile, lived like tomorrow was a myth. He borrowed money from his father's accounts to fund adventures Samuel never questioned. He crashed cars, broke promises, and left trails of broken relationships in his wake. And somehow, impossibly, Samuel always forgave him, always welcomed him back with open arms and that special smile reserved only for Marcus. The breaking point came on a Tuesday that started like any other. David had just secured the biggest contract in their company's history, working 16 whole days for 3 months to make it happen. He rushed home, contract in hand, heart hammering with the hope that maybe finally his father would see him, really see him. He found Samuel in the kitchen on the phone, voice thick with worry. "Marcus is in trouble again," Samuel said, hanging up. "He owes some dangerous people money. Real money this time. I need to wire him $50,000 immediately." Or his voice cracked. David stood there, contract forgotten in his trembling hands. "Dad, I just landed the Morrison deal. We are set for the next 5 years because of this." Samuel barely glanced at the papers. "That is nice, son. Can you handle the wire transfer? I need to call Marcus back." Something inside David's chest exploded, not with anger, but with a grief so profound it left him gasping. "When?" David's voice was barely a whisper. "When will it be enough?" Samuel looked up, confused. "What? When will I be enough? When will you look at me the way you look at him? When will my accomplishments matter as much as his failures?" The kitchen fell silent except for the ticking of the old clock Samuel's father had given him. "David, you don't understand. Marcus needs, I need too." The words erupted from somewhere David didn't know existed. "I needed you to be proud when I graduated valedictorian. I needed you to notice when I worked Christmas Day to save the Peterson account. I needed you to care when I won that industry award last year. But you were too busy cleaning up Marcus's messes to see any of it." Samuel's face went pale for the first time in decades. He was speechless. "Do you know what the worst part is?" David continued, tears now flowing freely. "I became everything I thought you wanted in a son, responsible, hard-working, loyal. But you already had your favorite, and it was never going to be me." David set the contract on the counter and walked toward the door. "Where are you going?" Samuel called after him. "To stop waiting for something that is never coming." That night, Samuel sat alone in his kitchen, David's words echoing like thunder in his mind. For the first time, he saw his own heart clearly, and what he found there horrified him. He had loved Marcus's weaknesses because they made him feel needed. But he had taken David's strength for granted, assuming it would always be there, unbreakable and undemanding. He realized with devastating clarity that he had spent so much energy rescuing one son that he had forgotten to cherish the other. 3 days later, Samuel found David in his apartment across town. His eldest son looked older, as if grief had aged him years in mere hours. "I came to apologize," Samuel said, his voice heavy with shame, "and to ask for something I don't deserve." David looked up, guards raised high. "I want to ask for forgiveness," Samuel continued. not just for the last few days, but for 27 years of being blind to the gift you are. You were never invisible, David. I was just looking in the wrong direction." They sat in silence for a long moment. "I don't know how to fix this," Samuel whispered, "but I want to learn how to see you, really see you, if you will teach me." David's shoulders shook as years of stored pain finally found release. "I just wanted to matter to you, Dad. That is all I ever wanted." "You do matter," Samuel said, reaching across the space between them. "You always have. I was just too broken to show you, and that is when healing began, my child. Not with grand gestures or perfect words, but with one father finally opening his eyes to see both of his sons clearly. It took months of honest conversations, awkward attempts at new traditions, and patient rebuilding of trust. Samuel learned to speak David's love language of recognition and appreciation. David learned that his father's favoritism had been born from fear, not lack of love. Marcus eventually came home too, but that is another story of grace and redemption. What I want you to understand is this: sometimes the people who seem strongest are carrying the heaviest burdens. Sometimes the child who never asks for attention is the one who needs it most. Sometimes love gets tangled up in our own brokenness until we cannot see straight. But it is never too late to open your eyes. It is never too late to say, "I see you now." It is never too late to love better. Father in heaven, help us see clearly. Help us love without favoritism, without conditions, without the blinders of our own pain. Open our eyes to the children around us who are silently waiting to be seen, to be valued, to matter. Give us the courage to admit when we have been blind, and the wisdom to love better from this day forward. Help us build bridges where we have created distance, and heal hearts we have unknowingly wounded. In your name, amen, my child. You are seen, you are valued, you matter deeply.